Good morning. We'll call the Fiscal Committee meeting to order on November 15th, 2024. And looking at the agenda, tab 1 is the acceptance of minutes. Senator D'Alessandro moves to accept. Is there a second? Second but before we begin, I should welcome Senator Altshuler here to replace Senator Rosenwald. Welcome. Okay, a second on the amendment, or on the minutes, is Senator Birdsell. Any further discussion, any corrections or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are adopted. There is nothing under old business. Tabs 3 through 7 are the consent calendar. There have been, by the House, 4 items removed under tab 6. Items 24388 and 24389. And under tab 7, 24404 and 24412. Is there a motion for the rest of the consent calendar?
As amended. Second.
Motion and a second to accept the consent calendar. Is there any further changes or discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Mr. Bradley seconded.
Yes. That consent calendar is adopted. We'll move to tab 6 and item 24388. And that is Department of Health and Human Services. Representative Edwards has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. Good seeing you again. Just yesterday, right? I have some basic questions about this. I understand that this is just receiving federal funds, and but I'm curious what the head count is for the state's management of this program. How many people are involved? And if you're able to tell me what kind of job requirements they have in order to fulfill their duties. Like, are they RNs? Are they, administrators? What kind of background do they need for those positions?
Sure. Good morning, Ian Watt. I'm the director for the Division of Public Health Services. Representative Edwards, thank you for your question. I don't have the specific head count of individuals in our tobacco program. Number of the people in that program, which is focused on tobacco, asthma, and cancer, are actually funded by multiple funding sources. So I'll have to go back and get back to you with the exact number of people specifically dedicated to tobacco activities. Most of them are programmatic staff, so they're program staff who may have any number of backgrounds. They may have medical background. They may have a background in public health, master's in public health or other master's level training, and then experience in the field working in either nonprofits or other people focused on smoking cessation or other chronic disease work.
All right, follow up. So I don't mind you not having the answer today because it's a surprise. But if you would email it to me, I would like to know what you think the actual head count is that would be attributable to this program, and what the job skill requirements are for these. And then I think it's been a decade at least that every time this program comes up, somebody will ask about metrics. How do we know that this is money well spent? What metrics do you use to monitor success of this program?
Sure. And so I'll thank my colleague, Nathan, was able to pull up our budget for the specific program. So we do have 5 FTEs assigned to the tobacco program, specifically in this AU. So the answer to that one is 5. In terms of the evaluation of programs, we use a variety of criteria where we have the quit line, obviously the number of users and people incoming calls and people referred to quit services or smoking cessation services would be one metric. Generally, it's number of people that are accessing the programs, and then those people's referrals into smoking cessation and other programs. In terms of outcomes of those programs, we do work where there are vendors involved. We work with those vendors to ensure people are staying in the program, duration of services, ensuring that they're getting into a program and then also staying until the services are having an effect on their behaviors and helping them quit smoking.
Okay, so in that same email, could you send me the metrics, what the standard is and how we're measuring it and what the results are?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Send that answer to Mr. Kane. He'll let everybody else
Absolutely.
share it. Any other questions from committee members on this item?
Second.
Senator Blaisdell moves to approve. Senator Birdsell moves to approve. What did I say? I know. 20 years and I keep giving you the wrong.
Okay, who seconded?
I just remember you as Regina. Senator Bradley. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The item is adopted. Moving on to 24389. And this deals with the refugees. Senator Edwards is again recognized. Who was it, you?
Representative Edwards.
Representative Irv.
Did you go? No, go ahead. No, I defer.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my questions. First of all, I want to thank, is this Director Hampton? Is that you, sir? Awesome.
Yes, good morning.
So thank you and Associate Commissioner Landry for responding to my questions. I've been asking these types of questions related to the refugee program for quite some time. And as you're aware, I provided you an article that actually started to list the different regulations is the wrong word, but authorities under which different refugees have come in from different places over the past numbers of years. And you were very good, and I asked you specifically about some of them, Haitians and Venezuelans, and you gave a great response, which I really appreciate. What I'd like to request is that this become part of the DHHS dashboard, where you actually have all of the different categories under which refugees are considered to be legally here, for lack of a better word, and an indication of which one it is and what year it was, as in the document that I provided you, what year that permission, if you will, was granted, and for how long it's for, and under what categories, because you actually drew out a number of categories. You mentioned humanitarian parole. You mentioned the ORR, which is what this is about. You talked about the TPS, which is what I was asking about. And then by child versus adult and by gender as well, so that we can actually see who is the numbers, not the people, the numbers of people that are coming in, and under what authority they have come in. Is that something that you could consider putting in future dashboards?
Thank you, Representative. We have some of that data, but not all of that data. So some of those categories, so the program serves refugees, humanitarian parolees, asylees, Amerasians, SIV holders, Afghans and Iraqis, and those who are under the conventions of torture, and a couple other categories. Those were initiated by various acts, whether it's the Refugee Act of 1980, the Immigration Naturalization Act. I believe the Amerasians are governed by two separate acts as well. There's an act of the Fiscal Year Act of 2008, I believe, that governs the SIV, so it varies. Humanitarian parolees, not all categories of humanitarian parolee are eligible for OR benefits and services, and who is eligible actually changes, and some who are eligible will also change. For example, Afghans are no longer, if they were to come over, eligible as humanitarian parolees. Ukrainians have changed depending on what Congress has passed. So those things may change. We do not provide and release publicly data based on sex assigned at birth, gender, and release those for privacy and safety reasons of our clientele. We can provide data on nationality, which we do reach, and by year as well. So we are happy to provide that to you. And we can provide data, for example, on humanitarian parolees versus refugees, if you would like.
Yes. And I'll point out you mentioned law, which is great. But some of these are not under law. They're under, I don't know what it's called when when DHHS basically just says, we're going to let in the Venezuelans now. But you have that distinction as well. So I'm just looking for that as well. And why can't you include the numbers of peoples? I'm not asking about the people themselves, obviously.
This is not data that we have ever tracked, nor that we do release publicly, and we do it typically. There is small numbers of folks, and we do not release it publicly for both privacy and safety reasons of clients. Regarding versus in law, so when you mentioned humanitarian parolees, that is governed by the Immigration Naturalization Act. So that is not something that is determined capriciously. That is there is no one who has a temporary protective status that is solely given OR benefits and services. To say it another way, just because you have TPS, you would not be eligible for this program.
Follow-up?
So from your response, in the written response, I understood that. But does that mean you're not eligible for any program of the state or federal government?
TPS and work authorization may make you eligible for Medicaid in certain specific instances. If you were a pregnant person and a child. However, there are not for ORR benefits and services.
Hi, sorry, Representative. Or if I could just chime in too, I think just to add on to what Ruben's saying, again, the federal government heavily prescribes who and when they can receive the services and offered by the refugee resettlement funds, and so we don't decide that in this state who and who's to receive the services. The federal government does, and so therefore, as Ruben was saying, just one criteria does not necessarily correlate with the ability to receive the funding or services by the funding from ORR at the federal government. And then I just wanted to add, as far as the dashboard, we'll take that back, and whatever information we can publicly share in the way in which works for you and the committee, we will. But we do have restrictions to protect privacy, so there's just some data we can't share in the way that you may be asking. But we'll take that back and look at what we can and bring it back to you.
For the record, would you identify yourself?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Ann Landry, Associate Commissioner.
Thank
you. I apologize.
I am upset that privacy takes place over safety. The public always wants to know how many of these people have come into our state, and we are unable to give them that number. And all this privacy is blocking that number. That's not right. We have a right to know how many refugees have been sent into our state by the federal government. That should be known by you, and it should be able to be given to us.
If I may respond, Representative Weiler, we can share the numbers of refugees coming into the state by origin of country through the Refugee Resettlement Program. What we can't share necessarily is by gender or by age in areas, because the numbers may be so small that may be identifiable in certain locations, but we absolutely can share the numbers coming in.
We could have 100 Venezuelan gang members, but we're not allowed to know there are so many between the ages of 16 and 20. Male. That doesn't seem correct.
Mr. Chair, maybe this conversation might be better if you and I got together with HHS and discussed this offline.
Thank you, but we do need more information. The public wants it, and they're not being provided.
Move the item.
Motion to accept the item, second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is, the item is adopted. Okay.
Nobody's opposed?
No one's opposed. Moving on to tab 7. Move to item number 404, Department of Health and Human Services. Representative Edwards is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you. Good morning. I'm taking a look at this, and I'm a little confused by it in that it appears that this program has an exceptionally high overhead to services ratio. This looks to be, to me, about for $1.2 of overhead, we're going to spend $5 on services. And so I think I must be misunderstanding this, and I'd like you to clarify, because it's an outrageous ratio if that's true.
Yes, thank you for the question. I'm Melissa Hardy. I'm the Division Director for Long-Term Supports and Services. So right now, Money Follows the Person, or MFP, is a demonstration project. So right now we have 2 full-time employees, one a program director and a data analyst. We're asking to add 3 temporary full-time positions in order to get the program up and running. Where we'll see our return is when we have individuals who are transitioning out of nursing facility placement and back into the community, because of the cost of nursing facility placement is significantly higher than people living in the community. So we're looking at about $70,000 per person to live in a nursing facility, and about $25,000 per person when somebody is on CFI or transitioning to the community.
And good morning, Nathan White, Chief Financial Officer. And I just want to also add, in addition to that, this is not the only account where the services are budgeted. There is an additional account, and I can provide that information to you so you can have the full picture, because just with this item, you're not able to see that because that other account isn't affected by this request. And
Follow up?
All right. Thank you for that. That's reassuring. Is this, since this is a demo project, have you had it accepted into the agency budget? Is this an established program now within the budget request that we're processing now?
so we budgeted a portion of this program. However, we will need to come forward with a change request at some point during either the governor's, House, or Senate phase of the budget process to add the additional federal funds so that we don't have to come back through fiscal in state fiscal year 26. So there will be some additional federal funds to be added to the original agency budget request. Thank you for asking.
Representative Irv.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my question. I just want to confirm that the HSRI report, when it's available, hopefully next month, will be made available to LBA so they can let us know.
Yes.
And a second one, I asked you about the UNH. It sounded like it was supposed to be a report, but you didn't specifically answer whether that was going to be provided to the public, to us, or if it was something else.
Yes, it can be provided. We can do that, but it's also an ongoing collaboration with them as we get our operational protocol approved. So we can share what we currently have from UNH, but it will be evolving as we get approval from CMS for our operational protocol.
That'd be great. And I assume there's some progress we made since this actually originated a couple of years ago, not just recently or
Yes.
now. Thank you.
Senator Birdsell. That's what I recognize you for. Senator Birdsell moves to approve. Senator Gray seconds. Is there any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is adopted. Moving on to the regular calendar on tab 8.
Didn't we,
412.
Yes, we did.
Oh, I thought, did I skip over that?
Yes.
All right, let's go back to FIS 24412, Insurance Department. Hello again, Commissioner.
Nice to see you again. Good morning.
Morning.
DJ Betancourt, Commissioner of the New Hampshire Insurance Department. I'm joined by Michelle Heaton, the head of our Life and Health Unit.
Representative Edwards had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. This is probably something that you would do routinely, but I'm just verifying it, that Project One on this program or this request is to conduct a study and produce a report on the current status of access to women's health services in the state, existing impediments to access, and ways to improve access. And I want to think that DHHS has been maintaining such a report, and I just would like to make sure that we're leveraging what we know between multiple departments, and not just because we have federal money, we're going to make a fresh report. I'd like to get some synergy there.
No, absolutely. And there'll be an opportunity for us to collaborate with Health and Human Services. In fact, I think we've already received some correspondence from them on some ideas that they have and information that they would like to share. What we're specifically going to look at are the topics that you cited as it pertains to commercial insurance, because obviously that is where our focus as a department is. So it's going to be through that lens that work will be conducted.
And when you have that report, it'll be available
Oh,
for
yes, absolutely.
DHHS. Okay, all right, thank you.
Everything done under this grant will in some way, shape, or form be public.
Okay, I thought it was that. I just wanted to verify.
Thank you.
Senator Birdsell moves to approve the item. Senator D'Alessandro seconds. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to tab 8 on the regular calendar. 24402. Department of Health and Human Services, any discussion on this item? Senator Bradley moves to approve. Senator D'Alessandro seconds. Any further discussion on 24402? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item is adopted. Moving on to tab 9. 24396. Representative Leishman moves to approve.
Second.
Senator Gray seconds. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item is adopted. Moving on to tab 10. Senator Bradley moves to approve. Senator Birdsell seconds. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose any opposed? Seeing none, that is adopted. Tab 11. Item number 24414.
Move to approve.
Senator Grave moves to approve. Senator Bradley seconds to adopt the item. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item is adopted. Miscellaneous items. And under tab 13, all the informational items. Is there anyone wishing further information on any of these items?
Yes, sir. I'd like to bring up 398, the DHHS operating dashboard.
Okay, questions on the HHS dashboard?
I'm looking at the YDC statistics on the average daily census on table 6. And in the last couple months or so, there's been a request to have kind of a public review or public-facing review of the procedures that we're going to use at the Youth Development Center to manage the census, so that when we get to 12, people are aware of it in advance. When we go from 12 to 18, we start to implement some kind of active procedures to keep it under 18. Then when we go over 18, and so So as I'm looking at these census numbers, and we're in that sort of red range of 16, I'm curious what the status is of sharing the procedures that'll be used to manage the census.
Thank you for the question. So there has been meetings with, I'll answer that, Lori Weaver, Commissioner, Health and Human Services. As we've been talking about engaging all of the stakeholders that touch every part of that system, if you will, and working to address that. So I believe in the beginning of the month, there was a gathering looking at all of that. Part of the MO there is to look at the processes that we use to divert kids out of the JJ system, and using a similar model. So you have a lot of the same players in the JJ system also working to tackle. So that's JPPOs, that's judges, that's law enforcement, that's community, that's other departments. So that work is in progress right now with the goal of really being able to make sure that kids get into the right level of care, and not so much to keep the census down, right? I mean, ultimately, you get the kids in the right level of care, your census should be down.
Okay, and then when do you think that might be shareable? When do you think you'll have enough of a cooked result on what that process and methodology will look like to start to share with maybe some in the legislature and some in the advocacy community?
I'm sure I'll check with Associate Commissioner Tilley, who's leading up that effort. I would think that they already have minutes from the work that they've done, but in terms of a product of where they're at, I would think within the next couple of months.
Okay, I think that's great. That'd be fine. 2 months would be fine. And then if I may switch to table 8, which is, I think, a good news table, and I'm just curious what you might attribute it to. Table 8, I think, shows a pretty substantial decline post-COVID on use of the community mental health centers. And so I'm just curious if you've looked at that trend and if there's any analysis that we might want to know about related to why we're seeing such a nice decline.
It would be dangerous for me to answer that alone without Katia Fox here. So if we could come back to that or follow up with you.
That'd be fine. And then if I could, I'd like to, Mr. Chair, may I go to table 11?
Yes.
Table 11 is also a nice chart that shows we have no DD waiting list. And as I recall, the DD waiting list, the thing that determines whether or not there is a waiting list is if there are unfunded DD clients needing services. And so this, I didn't say that very well, but I think hopefully you know what I mean. What this waiting list does not measure, though, is the number of people in the DD community that are awaiting services that are just not available, that their services would be fully funded, so therefore they're not on the waiting list. But because there's nobody available to provide them the services, they're effectively not getting the care that we want to see happening. So is there another, I think this is like a 3-year-old topic where I've been asking for us to have what I would consider the true wait list, which is the number of clients that have funding but for which we have a service shortfall and therefore no services.
Thank you for the question. I'm Melissa Hardy, Division Director for Long-Term Supports and Services. So we do, per your request at HHS Oversight Committee, we do report out on the data that we do have as far as people who are funded but do not receive services and the reasons why. So we get that information from our area agencies as far as if it's a lack of staffing, a lack of providers, if an individual didn't want to start services. So we're still in the process of, since we had a large system change, gathering all that data into one report that we could easily share out. But I believe we're on the agenda for next week at HHS to report out on the wait list.
That is excellent news. Thank you.
Welcome.
And then I have one more.
One more.
Thank you so much. I don't know if this would be your question, but So I forget the exact terminology of the effort that you all have been undergoing on getting the emergency rooms cleared of the mental health clients, and Project Zero or something, I think it's called. I'm wondering if it might be appropriate to include in this dashboard in the future where we're at with the number of people that are still awaiting services and are therefore unfortunately staged in our ERs.
Sure, it's called Mission Zero, just for the record.
Mission Zero,
Yeah,
thank you.
Mission Zero. We did include it, so that dashboard's been up for quite a while. If you look at your cover page, there is a link to that dashboard because it's updated daily with counts. So if you look in that second paragraph, if you will, there's a link that'll take you where you'll be able to see different facets of the data and how we break down those that are waiting, that are actually in EDs, or those that are already have a placement but are like such as the jail.
So I actually knew that. I was just giving you an opportunity to brag a bit
Oh, okay.
about how well you guys are managing this. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Representative Leishman.
You have something that's not on the miscellaneous, but I think this will probably be the last meeting that we have as a group of fiscal. And there are two people on the Senate side that I know that won't be coming back. Jeb Bradley, who I met back in the 90s when he was serving as the chair of Science and Technology in the House, also the Ethics Committee. I have worked with Senator Bradley on like the New Hampshire Health Protection Plan. Then I look at Lou D'Alessandro. There used to be a Republican like I was. And these two individuals have been lions in the state, and I can't think of two individuals that have done more positive things for the state of New Hampshire. And I know all of us are really going to miss you, Lou, and you, Jeb.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
So everybody listen to New Hampshire Public Radio at some point, because Senator D and I are going to do a old goat retiring interview this morning. But thank you all very much.
Do you know the date?
We're going to record it at 12:30. So you want to come into the third floor office, everybody can watch us get grilled.
First of all, thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. It's been an honor to serve with you and to work with you over the years. I must say that it's been an honor to work with Senator Bradley and to work with the members of the committee, and to hear the quality of service that's presented by our commissioners and other individuals who come before us and to bring us information about how the government works and how efficient it is, or what our inability is sometimes to do the kinds of things that the legislature wants you to do. But generally speaking, we should be very pleased at what's happened. And I want to just make one point, and that's the Commissioner of Revenue and the job that she has done with that department to bring in the RIM system, I think, is magnificent. The fact that she's collecting money that was not collected in the past, and that money is being used to pay off bond debt that we don't have to appropriate general funds for. They'll be paid for by the money that's being accrued. And it's things like that that make government work, and we're so proud of it in terms of our ability to manage that. But we have a lot of problems, and life is a series of problem-solving exercises. So that's what life's all about. And I've been here a long time. Jeb's been here a long time. And as we leave, I think the situation is we hope things move in the right direction. Right, that's what we all hope for, because a lot of people are depending on all of the actions that take place in this legislative body, and the lives of people of the state of New Hampshire are what we're really concerned about. That's why we come here. That's why we serve here, and hopefully when we leave, it's better than it was when we came. Thank you.
Senator Brad.
So Senator D always makes it a great American day, and it's really been a pleasure to serve with Lou. And I just want to, I was kind of joking about our old goat interview, which everybody can come and watch us. I think it's at 12:30, right, Lou, in the third floor office. But both of us have worked with everybody in this room for years. Peter, thank you very much for your kind words. Done a lot of good bipartisan work, some partisan work. I remember Doug Hall telling me many years ago, the most important trait of any legislator is when you disagree to always try to be agreeable. And I think, Lou, you have epitomized that. And it's been a pleasure to work with you. I also want to give Mike you a shout out. I had never sat on the finance committee until this budget, and I just came to realize not only Mike, but the entire LBA staff just does an exceptional job, and I think has made the budget process much more transparent, explainable, and was really helpful. And so I think that's vitally important. And you also did a great job of training Nathan, who's done a great job with all of the HHS people that are here in the room today. You're the largest department in this great state, and so many people depend on you, and you manage the resources that you're given, I think, pretty effectively and efficiently, and that enables us to provide services, but do it in a rational basis and maintain our advantageous tax structure, which is really important, right, Lou?
Right. If I could, Mr. Chairman, the LBA, the LBA is just unbelievably good. And the young woman who answers the telephone when I call the NBA is the best. The best. And she's promising me that she's not going to retire. She's going to hang in and keep pitching. Now, I remember the LBA when Henry Good ran the LBA. Now, that goes back over 50 years ago. That was my first trip to the office of the LBA. When Henry Good had the dark lights on, was smoking in the office, smoking his pipe or his cigar, and this whole world was in a different shape at that time. But I can't thank the LBA enough, Mike and his crew, and for the job that they do working the budget. It's just amazing how 6 guys can work for the Senate, work for the House, work for the majority, work for the minority, and get it done in a non-partisan fashion. So kudos to the LBA and to just as I say, to that young woman who answers the phone. That's the greatest message you could get. Good morning. Good morning. This is the LBA. How can I help you? Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anything further? This will be the last meeting of this fiscal committee. It will be reformed in the next session. And I've enjoyed working with all of you and appreciate all the study you have to do with all these items that come before us every week, or every month rather. And it'll be a new challenge in the future.
So if I might, I think for all of us as members, Mr. Chair, you and Senator Gray deserve a shout out for, really organizing fiscal well. Never sat on fiscal before either. Probably the most powerful, most underknown committee of the legislature, but both you and Jim have done an exceptional job over these 2 years, so thank you.
Thank you. Senator?
In the future, okay, printing of these books costs a lot of money, takes a lot of effort. I want to, with the departure of a couple of our members that likes the paper, I want the new members and the existing members, excuse me, that are returning, to think about the way we did it during COVID, that the link that you get with the agenda is very quick, very easy to get back to the information. Even if someone has to appropriate the money to get you all a Chromebook or whatever it is that we would need to do that, we can actually save some money, save some time. As long as you get a hard copy of that agenda to keep your notes on, I think that is doable. So give it some thought, and you know, the LBA will be happy not to have to put these all together if we get there.
We'll just get trained by Keith. He even has a little thing he can write on his Chromebook there. Anything further? Thank you all. It's delighted to have a short meeting. We are adjourned.